Hello, everybody. It's story time again. I got my frumpy reading sweater on. What we got to drink? Let's see. Nice glass of cool water. Okay. Well, today I'm going to tell you a story about Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry and the monster under the bed. Okay, are you ready? Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry are three worms. They're good friends of mine. They live out behind my house. Now, Jonathan Thomas Henry is a little bit strange. He wears a fedora, and he has a wormy knapsack. And you don't see a lot of worms wearing hats and knapsacks, but that's Jonathan Thomas Henry. Now, these three guys are very good friends, and they were talking one day about the monsters under the bed. Because everyone knows there's monsters under the bed. But Squiggly, he had a solution, and it worked perfectly for him. His parents gave him the monster words. And when he says the monster words, there's no monsters under his bed. In fact, it works for monsters and giraffes. And ever since Squiggly has been saying the monster words, there hasn't been a single monster or giraffe under his bed. And the monster words, he says, are booga booga booga. Now, Wiggly, he said that he's very concerned about the monsters under his bed too. But his parents got him the monster juice. And the monster juice keeps the monsters away. So at nighttime, after Wiggly gets his bedtime story and gets tucked in, he squirts a little of the monster juice under his bed. And there hasn't been a monster since. Now, the monster juice smells a little bit like vinegar and apples. But that's okay. He's good with that. But Jonathan Thomas Henry, he's got a problem. He knows there's a monster under his bed. But every time he told his dad there was a monster under his bed, his dad just said, "There's no such thing as monsters, son. Go to bed." So at nighttime, when Jonathan Thomas Henry went to bed, his dad would read him a bedtime story. He'd get him all tucked in. He'd turn on the nightlight. And then as his dad left the room, Jonathan Thomas Henry would reach into his wormy knapsack and pulled out his pokey stick. It was an extendable pokey stick that he had from Worm Scouts. And he extended it as far as it went. And it was almost 2 inches long. And he would sweep it under his bed every night just to make sure there were no monsters. He still thought there was a monster under there. Well, Squiggly thought, why don't you try the monster words? It works for me, it'll work for you. So, the next night, Jonathan Thomas Henry went to bed. And his dad read him a bedtime story and tucked him in and turned on the nightlight. And then just before Jonathan Thomas Henry went to sleep, he said the monster words, "Booga booga booga." But he was fairly certain there was still a monster under his bed. So he still got out his pokey stick from his wormy knapsack and he swept it under his bed. And then he went to sleep. Well, the next day at school, Wiggly said, "I can lend you some of my monster juice. That'll keep your monster away." So, that night, Jonathan Thomas Henry, he got his bedtime story. He got tucked into bed. And as his dad turned on the nightlight and went out the room, he got out the monster juice and he went squirt, squirt, squirt. And it did smell like vinegar and apple. But he was still certain there was a monster under there. So he got out his pokey stick again and he extended it and he swept it under his bed. He didn't feel anything, so he went back to sleep. Well, this wasn't working for him. He was talking to Squiggly and he was talking to Wiggly and he said, "I tried everything and there's still a monster under my bed." "Well," said Squiggly, "why don't you look under the bed?" "But what if there's a monster?" "Well, he might be friendly." "Really?" "Yeah, he might be friendly." So Jonathan Thomas Henry thought, tonight I'm going to try it. I'm going to be very brave and try it and see if I can find the monster. So that night, Jonathan Thomas Henry went to bed. And his father read him a bedtime story. And he tucked him in. And he turned on the nightlight. And then he closed the door. And Jonathan Thomas Henry reached for his wormy knapsack. But instead of getting out his pokey stick, he got out his wormy flashlight. He crawled out of bed and he looked under the bed. He didn't see anything. And he turned on his flashlight and he looked under the bed. He still didn't see anything. And he crawled under the bed a little bit with his flashlight. And there, in the back corner, where it's always dark, he saw the monster. Oh my goodness, he was scared. But then he looked closely. Very closely. And the monster was a cricket. And he said, "Hello." And the cricket said, "Hello." He said, "Do you live under my bed?" "Yes, it's a very nice bed." "Well, my name is Jonathan Thomas Henry. What's yours?" "Larry." "You're Larry and you live under my bed. Are there any other monsters under here?" "Oh, no, I've never seen a monster under here. Just me." "Well, what do you do during daytime when I go to school?" "Oh, I go to cricket school. And at night I come back under your bed." "Oh." And then Jonathan Thomas Henry and Larry had a nice chat. But it seems that Larry had one problem. He didn't like the nightlight. So from then on, every night when Jonathan Thomas Henry went to bed, his father would read him a bedtime story. His father would tuck him in. And his father went to turn on the nightlight, and Jonathan Thomas Henry said, "I don't need the nightlight anymore, Dad." "But what about the monsters under your bed?" "Oh, there are no monsters under my bed. Just Larry the cricket." And from then on, they turned out the lights, and everyone was happy. And Squiggly and Wiggly and Jonathan Thomas Henry had no monsters under their beds. The end. I hope you liked that story. I thought that was a fun story. Well, that's the end of the story. You have yourself a great day. You take care of one another. Take care of yourself. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.